I think it's brutal. I think they should have given him more time, you know.
31 games is all he had.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. They know the rules. It was the same with Patrick Vieira. I have a talk with him when he was fired, you know, with Crystal Palace. And they all know the rules, you know. When you don't win games, at the end of the day, you know the sentence, you know. You're fired.
The guillotine.
Yes, but I think it's brutal because if you want to build something, especially after you arrive, you know, they sack Tuchel. And then they hire him, and they didn't give him the time. And on top of it, you know, as a manager, how can you manage more than 30 players in a dressing room? They still don't have space for every single player in the dressing room. Can you imagine that? So can you imagine the trouble for a manager, you know, to manage every single player every single day at a training session? Yeah. It's impossible.
So I personally would prefer to deal with a smaller, tighter squad of players, much easier to manage.
Of course, it's much easier because you are focused on 20, 25 players, and you know that it's more easy, you know, for the manager to talk personally to the players and to make a turnover, you know, into the team every single 3 days. But when you have 30 players on top of it, most of them are internationals with high expectations. Yes. So how can you manage them, you know, when you say to them, you won't be in a team sheet, you won't even be on a bench, you'll be in a stand or even in house watching the game. So I know, I like the way you trained, but I'm sorry, you cannot play the next game.
Look, but the thing is, when Todd Boehly came in, the first thing that he said, he wants a long-term plan for Chelsea. They want to change the identity of Chelsea as a football club, what they have had in the past. Clearly, actions speak louder than words at the moment. But then you compare the same situation. Perhaps what he was aiming to do was what Arsenal did with Mikel Arteta. Go with someone young, give them time. But maybe the difference is, Gary, when you look at the stats of Graham Potter at Chelsea, it's just because not only are they not getting results, yes, there is the caveat of the bloated squad, the takeover, you know, new management, everything. But perhaps it's just the fact that on top of the fact that the stats are poor, there just are no signs of progress in any way. No signs of progress that perhaps Mikel Arteta had displayed in the early parts of his tenure, even though he wasn't getting wins.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems that we've seen at Chelsea, and you just look at those statistics there, and they're just not good enough by Chelsea's high standards in recent seasons. One of the biggest problems has been the churn of Graham Potter's team selection as well. You know, he has used so many different players across the course of his tenure.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I don't think Graham Potter truly knew what his best 11 was. He couldn't get to it. Too many players. Exactly, too much choice. And it wasn't a case, I believe, of him trying to satisfy and keep players happy. It was that he genuinely couldn't find in his own mind and from working on the training park what his best 11 was. And if you're the head coach, you have to have your best 11.
A vision
of it, exactly. And then you make some changes to that because of injury, because of suspension, because of a lack of form. But, you know, even tonight, for example, you know, Chelsea have only made 2 changes from Saturday's game, which is a very different statistic to what Graham Potter was making when he was in charge.
He would change so many players game after the game,
Yeah, because that affects players themselves as well. They can't build relationship, they can't build that chemistry as well. They can't, you know, operate as a team if you're constantly chopping and changing all the personnel in that player in that starting 11. But you're talking about a manager that was once touted as the next England manager. Has his reputation been damaged now because of what happened at Chelsea?
Not really. Not really. It's not because you don't succeed in a club that you're a poor manager. We all know what he's done, you know, with Brighton. He did a magnificent job over there. And De Zerbi said it, you know. He said, thank you very much for what you've done. Because
yeah, but sometimes certain managers can be profiled as, oh, you're just this project manager.
I think the step was a little bit too high, actually, for him. But, you know, he was at Brighton for ages as well. So he needed something different, you know, a big challenge as well. You know, playing the first position on the table, playing Champions League game as well. So I can understand that he decided, you know, to leave Brighton for Chelsea.
I think Graham Potter had no choice when the opportunity came to leave Brighton and go to Chelsea. And I played at Brighton. It's a fantastic club.
Do you think in hindsight he regrets it? Because, I mean, he had such a great setup at Brighton, and look at how well they're doing under the foundation he built.
I think it depends how you view it. I'm sure his financial advisors are very happy with how it's worked out for Graham Potter. You know, the guy signed a 5-year contract there, and the compensation must be absolutely huge.
13 million.
Apparently. Yeah. So it depends from what way you view it. I don't, you know, what he has learned and the experience he's gained through being at Chelsea will stand him in good stead going further forward. And he'll be back in the game somewhere.
It's a different world. But, you know, I think it was about Sam, you know, because, you know, football is winning games. And you said it. I agree with that. But on top of it, you know, because of all the decision he makes, you know, on the first 11, the rotation he put, you know, into the team, he didn't receive the respect from the players. This is, for me, the most difficult thing to understand and to accept as a player, because if you don't support your manager, then you lose the dressing room. And there is no way you're going to win a game on the pitch.